Okay, so it's NBA trade season, and the NFL decided it wanted to get in on the action because the Pro Bowl didn't quite permeate the national sports discussion the way Luka Doncic being traded to the Los Angeles Lakers did, which is shocking because I thought the NFC AFC flag football game was a real barn burner, Chris.
Yeah,
I
apparently
saw
that
one.
happened.
I saw one highlight, and it was the one the 49ers posted of Kyle Juszczyk catching a touchdown. Salute to
Good,
Juice,
good for
friend of
friend
the
of the
pod.
podcast,
Yeah,
Kyle Juszczyk.
yeah.
I do want to take a step back though before we get in and just apologize since we haven't. I don't even remember the last time we recorded a podcast. Frankly, I think it was before the 49ers hired Robert Saleh. It's been a couple weeks, and I want to thank everyone for bearing with us. If you guys know the personal journeys that Kyle and I are on, a lot of Sacramento Kings dominating our lives at the moment.
Buddy.
I was traveling for a road trip, doing some reporting for the Sacramento Bee on the De'Aaron Fox stuff, and it was not a lot of 49er stuff going on, so just wasn't enough to. Or I guess we just didn't record any Niners podcast because you and I both had way too much.
We're
other
busy,
stuff going
bro.
on.
It's a busy
We're
time on the
busy.
NBA calendar.
We're very busy, particularly when it comes to observers of the NBA Kings. Obviously, not everyone who listens to this podcast is a Kings fan, but if you are, you know what it's been like the last few weeks, even going back to December, trying to follow and cover this team. So thanks everyone for bearing with us on that standpoint. I just wanted to get that out of the way before we get going back into this Niners talk.
Yeah, no doubt. We need to. I say I need to do a better job of planning my life around doing at least one pod while you're not in town. But that's fine. We'll figure it out. We're working through this together.
We're grinders.
If you are a fan of the Sacramento Kings, go ahead and rewind it to the half-hour conversation Chris and I had before we turned the mics on. It was a great discussion. So here's where we're at with the 49ers. They've hired defensive coordinator Robert Saleh. Obviously, they hired Brant Boyer, their new special teams coordinator. The next big ticket item this offseason is Brock Purdy's contract. Nothing on that front just yet, which is not a huge surprise. What I would like to discuss with you today, in the vein of trades, is Myles Garrett Monday morning officially requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns, which is not a massive surprise. He said after the year, he in an interview with reporters at like their locker cleanout day, basically said, I want to win. We're going to have some tough conversations here. I want to be here, but I want to win first and foremost. And then today, Monday, February 3rd, the Monday before the Super Bowl, he requests a trade officially from the Cleveland Browns. The Browns have said they are not going to trade him. Of course, that's what they're going to say here on February 3rd. We'll see how that situation plays out. But it's pretty rare, Chris, that a big name comes available like this or requests a trade like this. And it's pretty rare that I'll just full-throated say the 49ers need to be involved here. This is a move the 49ers should go make. Because usually it's like, it'll be like CeeDee Lamb or something where it's like, yeah, it's a good player, but they shouldn't be dealing a bunch of picks to go get CeeDee Lamb, right? A player like Myles Garrett, you go give up the couple of firsts and couple of mid-round picks it's going to take to go get Myles Garrett.
Yeah, I completely agree. And what makes this unique is the structure of Myles Garrett's contract. And obviously, longtime listeners of the podcast know how important the structure is vital with every NFL contract. But this one in particular, when it comes to, why it makes sense for the 49ers to trade for him. In 2025, Myles Garrett base salary is $1.2 million. And that's because he has a $14.8 million prorated signing bonus. There's a $3.7 million, I think another bonus. I think it's probably a roster bonus. But the point is here is when you trade for a team, and shout out to our buddy Nick Wagner for giving us the refresher on this in the group chat. But when a player gets traded, the new team takes on essentially just the base salary. and the old team is responsible for the majority or the signing bonuses and the majority of the other bonuses, depending on what they are. And that can get real specific, and we're not going to get too far in the weeds in that. But essentially, the 49ers could trade for Myles Garrett and basically pay him like $3 million this year or something insane. Like, and obviously the big caveat here with all of that, he's signed through 2026. So he's under contract for 2 years. The assumption would be that Myles Garrett would join his team and sign a new contract. But what you have if you're the 49ers in this scenario is potentially an ability to sign that contract, agree to a contract with Myles Garrett, and then backload it and have small cap numbers early on that get bigger as the salary cap grows. And then you can do, assume when George Kittle's contract is off the books and Trent Williams is off the books, that's when Myles Garrett's, cap hits could potentially get big. And so the 49ers would be in position to construct something that way. So, is it super likely the 49ers get him? I don't know how likely it is, because I would imagine that there are going to be some teams that throw multiple first round picks at the Browns. And I don't know that the 49ers are in a position to trade multiple first round picks. I wouldn't be opposed to trading 11 overall and maybe, another second or maybe a couple of seconds. I don't know. But yeah, to your point, the 49ers absolutely should be in the mix here, at least picking up the phone, because you could get, arguably the best defensive player in the league for basically peanuts relative to how it impacts your cap, because the Browns have basically, like, on his current contract, 99, basically $100 million out of the 100 and let's see. So $100 million of Myles Garrett's Browns contract since 2020 has been in prorated signing bonuses, while 7.7 million has been in base salary. Like, the Browns have decided to basically try to keep his cap number small by giving him ridiculous amounts of converting base salaries to signing bonus, which is a standard practice to reduce cap numbers. Like, Myles Garrett's cap numbers have been really manageable for the Browns throughout his entire time there, because just about all of his money has been in signing bonuses, which makes him very, very appealing to trade for, because he's already gotten a bunch of money and you could potentially bring him in on the cheap from a salary cap perspective. And again, the caveat is, if Myles Garrett wants a new contract, then you have to deal with Clutch Sports and try to figure that out. But to me, he's so good that I think that's a chance worth taking.
Yeah, it's just you can't undersell how good Myles Garrett is. He has 102.5 sacks in his career. He's regularly, go pick a pass rushing metric, and he is at or near the top every year he's in the league. And it is, I don't even want to say a position of need for the Niners, because I saw this is a popular thing today. Imagine Myles Garrett with this person's favorite team. It's like, yeah, imagine him on every team. This is not some niche player who fills some specific role on your favorite team's defense. Like, no, man, he's just fucking awesome.
He's the LeBron James of defensive linemen, basically.
Seriously, dude, he's that good. And like I said, I don't want to undersell this. And that's why I'm saying, yeah, give him 11. And if they want next year's first two, cool. Like, go that, because, and it's more just the rarity that a player of his caliber before age 30 hits the market or hits the trade market or becomes available in some way. And so at the 49ers' biggest position of need, and I say that because if they had two Nick Bosas, I'd be more hesitant to be like, yeah, you probably go give up 2 first-round picks. But nobody you're going to get with those first-round picks is going to play the position Myles Garrett plays, or is going to play a position as important as Myles Garrett, or be nearly as good at the position they do play. So yeah. That's for me why you throw your hat in the ring, and you're probably right. There's probably some team that's going to be super desperate and will throw more picks than the 49ers are willing to throw at the problem, and are able to pay more money right away, and that's how that'll go. But I would be shocked if the 49ers weren't heavily involved here trying to get Myles Garrett to San Francisco because he just immediately solves so many problems for you. As a run defender, as a pass rusher, it frees things up for Nick Bosa. I don't want to say fix all because you still have a little bit of work to do, but man, it makes your life so much easier when you're constructing your defense this offseason.
If you added Myles Garrett to Nick Bosa, like you'd be like, well, okay, you lost Dre Greenlaw. Oh well.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Talanoa Hufanga left, whatever. Like
Yep.
you would be able to cover up for so many other weak points on your defense if you had two elite and one insanely elite. Like Myles Garrett, to me, probably a Hall of Famer. Like he's been a first team All Pro in 4 of the last 5 seasons. He hasn't missed more than 2 games since 2020, and even in 2020 he played in 14 games. His sack totals going back to 2018, 13.5, 10, 12, 16, 16, 14, 14.
Good God.
And 2 years ago he was a Defensive Player of the Year. So there's no substantial like injury history. Yeah, he's going to be 30, but like George Kittle's 30, Fred Warner's getting close to 30. Like you got, he matches the timeline and he's been better. Would Myles Garrett be the Niners' best player?
Yes.
Probably, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah,
I think on either side of the ball.
I'm in on the idea, but again, probably at a price I would see the logic in saying, all right, here's our next 2 first-round picks. Let's just get this done, and then. But if it's 2 first-round picks and then you're giving up a bunch of day 2 picks, and then it's like, well, at some point this is an aging roster that needs to replenish its depth.
Exactly.
So if you can somehow get him maybe with a couple premium picks and then still have the ability to replenish your roster, that to me is probably the best of both worlds. Because like when we look at the draft more closely as it comes up, like I'm going to look at a lot of edge guys at 11.
Oh, big time.
So I'm not going to have a problem moving the 11th pick for, one of the, if not the best edge player in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. On the other hand, I'm not going to sit here on this podcast and kill the 49ers if they don't trade for Myles Garrett.
Well, no, the Raiders will probably give up like 5 first-round picks and and then everyone else will just kind of be like, okay, go for it. Go for it, guys. Like that's to me what this kind of reeks of. It's like the smart teams will be like, yeah, we'll give you 2 first-round picks, but some dumb team is going to give them 3.
Yeah,
and
the
then
Panthers.
The Panthers, the Jaguars, the Raiders. Like that's kind of, so we'll see.
Yeah. And I think too with the Niners, there comes there's likely a little bit of a premium too. Because if they pick up Myles Garrett, they're the favorite in the NFC, like immediately. The day that trade gets announced,
depending on how the Super Bowl goes, sure.
All right, that's fair. Yeah, if the Eagles boat race the Chiefs, then maybe not. But they immediately become one of the top 2 favorites in the NFC, and you're getting the graphics of like who's scoring on this defense, and it's Myles Garrett and Nick Bosa and Fred Warner and whoever else. Deommodore Lenoir, I guess. So Malik Collins. But that's the Niners are going to have to pay a premium on that because this year's first is 11. Okay, that's great. But next year might be 31 or 32. Whereas a team like the Raiders or Carolina, if Carolina's giving up whatever 9, I think they are this year, 9 or 10 or wherever they're picking, and then next year's first has a real chance to be in the top 10 as well, they might get away with being able to trade fewer assets in the way the Niners wouldn't. So, like I said, I'm not going to kill them if they don't wind up making the deal.
Not calling for John Lynch's head.
No, but sometimes I worked in sports talk radio in San Francisco, not to brag, and we would get on these topics. The hosts would get on these topics where they would talk about this trade, and they'd have this hypothetical trade just out there. and they'd talk about it and they'd hammer it home and they got to do this and blah, blah, blah. And then it wouldn't happen. And it would be like, there's no word the Niners were even involved. And the next day it's John Lynch getting killed for not bringing the deal home or something.
Sure.
And I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to do all that.
Yeah.
I do think they need to get involved though.
Yeah, they absolutely need to get on the phone, get on the horn, hit them on the two-way.
Yeah. Text them. Give them a little FaceTime.
AIM.
Apparently they're not entertaining offers right now, so maybe you don't want to be clingy. Maybe you be the team that doesn't call right now.
Sure.
And then maybe sometime right before, like 4 or 5 days before the legal tampering window opens, you just give them a buzz.
Don't
Hey,
send
just checking in.
Don't send the second text without a response.
Yeah, 1,000%. Don't look desperate. And then just call and just check in. March 10, March 11, maybe. You just call. Hey, how's it going? You know, how are things? Da-da-da-da. I know the offseason's stressful. Just wanted to see how things are going. And the second they go, God, it's actually the Deshaun Watson thing's been tough. And, trying to figure out the quarterback situation. It's one of the hardest things to do. And then Myles with the trade request this offseason. Oh, the trade. Oh my God, I forgot about that. How's that going? Like and now you're allowing the Browns to open up in that way. And now they're offering problems, and now you can offer solutions. Say, hey, let me take this weight off your shoulders. What if we give you number 11? We'll even, you know what? And we don't want to. We know he's a good player. We know you need it. How about next year's first? We'll throw that in there. We can end this right now so you can begin focusing on the other problems you have ahead. Boom, bang, deal's done.
Yeah, maybe we just happen to run into Andy Berry with in Indianapolis, and you just happen to have his favorite coffee order. Just like, oh, hey, I got this spare almond milk latte. What are the odds? Do you want this?
I thought you were going to say go to the Whole Foods in Cleveland just every day and hope to run into him.
Oh, you like this acai bowl too?
John, why are you in Cleveland?
Oh man.
No, I just love
Myles Garrett? What? That's crazy.
Who doesn't want to flee to the Cleve? Shout out to the 30 Rockheads who got that.
Sure.
So they should trade for Myles Garrett. That's my hot take of the day.
Yeah, agreed. Do we want to address the Cooper Kupp scenario? Because I think it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I don't think they'll get a chance to. So Cooper Kupp announced on Monday afternoon, not a clutch client, I don't believe. Announced Monday afternoon that basically the Rams told him he's going to be traded. Like the Rams said, hey, we're doing you the courtesy of letting you know that after 8 seasons, we're going to trade you before your age 32 season. And so he did a whole tweet about it. Thank you, LA, blah, blah. Obviously, the Niners aren't going to probably trade for him because I don't think the Rams would trade in the division.
Yeah.
But I want to go to the scenario where the Rams can't trade him because he's 32. He's played 33 games the last 3 years. And he's expensive for the Rams to trade. So they would probably have to eat a bunch of the money to get off of his contract. And I want to go to the world where teams go, well, we'll just wait until you cut him. And he becomes a free agent. That's intriguing to me for San Francisco.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think there's a world where the Rams trade him to the Niners. I do want to mention though, I didn't see his tweet. He thanked the city of LA. He thanked the fans. What if he gets traded to the Chargers?
It's a great point. I hadn't even thought about that.
This is awkward.
Do you think the Rams would rather trade Cooper Kupp to the Chargers or the 49ers?
The Chargers for sure.
Okay.
Because it's the same market, but it's not going to be like the Chargers aren't like a big show in town.
You don't think the 9 Chargers fans are going to make him regret that?
I mean, maybe 7 of them will. No.
There's 9 Charger fans. 2 of them just really apathetic, just very indifferent.
Listen, there's a soft spot in my heart for the municipality of San Diego. So
Same.
I don't want to besmirch Chargers fans, because I think one of the great recent travesties in sports history is an NFL team leaving San Diego.
Facts.
But when we joke about Chargers fans, we mainly mean LA Chargers fans, because there seem to be so few of them.
That was a Los Angeles Chargers based joke. We love the San Diego Chargers.
Yes. But yeah, like, so I'm looking at Cooper Kupp's contract. If he's traded after June 1st, which seems highly unlikely, because if they were to trade him, it would likely be before the draft so they could get picks that help the Rams immediately. But with a post June 1 trade, it's a $20 million cap savings. And if it's a post June 1 designated cut or release, it's a $15 million cap savings. So yeah, I kind of think this is going to go along the lines of like maybe what we've been thinking about with Deebo Samuel, with like, do the 49ers want to keep this guy? Like, will teams trade for him, or will teams just say, nah, we'll just wait for you to cut him? I kind of think it's similar. I'm probably like, I would absolutely be interested in Cooper Kupp as a free agent, to your point. I think that's an intriguing situation, because you're not giving up anything in the form of draft capital. And maybe you could get him at a reasonable rate, but sure. I'm probably not bringing in Cooper Kupp unless I know Deebo Samuel's not on the team anymore. Because even as much of a question mark as Brandon Ayuk's health situation is going into the season, we know it wasn't just the ACL. There's a reasonable chance that he's not even back until midway through the season. It kind of feels like you're investing too much in the receiver position if you bring back Deebo at his $15 million cap hit. You have Brandon Ayuk's new contract kicking in, and you have a first-round pick in Ricky Pearsall. Like, that is a lot of resources invested in receivers, and just about all of them are question marks for me. Yeah. And I would probably rather, if you get a defensive tackle at that price, or a center, or there are just other positions to me that feel more pressing, unless you decide to move off Deebo, at which point I think it would be, if you had Brandon Ayuk and Cooper Kupp, like you're cooking with gas, you're ready to go with Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings. Like that's a potentially really good receiving core, obviously. But if you're keeping Deebo and you're committed to keeping Deebo, I don't think that's the right use of resources.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And I think the bigger thing for me, and Cooper Kupp, so he's played 33 games the last 3 years, 9, 12, and 12. Yeah, so there's some injury concerns for sure. And I do think, though, the Niners would be in a position to utilize him less than he was utilized in LA. He averaged 9 targets a game. The 49ers leading target getter the last 3 years in 48 games averaged 7 targets a game. So he'd be looking at a much lighter workload. Maybe he stays healthier. He can run block. He can play multiple spots. Like it makes a lot of sense from a fit standpoint. But separating the Cooper Kupp of this all, you hit the nail on the head when you said basically their entire receiving core is question marks going into this year. And I know we did an off-season needs pod where we rolled through some things, but
except for Juwan Jennings, I don't think.
Juwan Jennings is good. Juwan Jennings is a good player.
Yeah, but
Brandon Ayuk is coming off a massive injury. No idea if he's even going to be ready for the start of the season, and if he is, how close to Brandon Ayuk is he? Deebo Samuel might just be washed. We have no idea. He's coming off the worst season of his career at age 29. Don't love that for him. Ricky Pearsall played 11 games, and even before he got shot in the chest, he dealt with hamstring and shoulder injuries in camp. And we don't even know if like Dante Pettis looked good his rookie year too, and fell the hell off.
Oof,
so that's a good.
Oof.
It's not to say I think Ricky Pearsall. It's not to say Ricky Pearsall is Dante Pettis, but it's like you got to prove it in a second year outside of it. Like, oh, you had a nice 4 games to end the year.
Yeah,
like it's just a far cry from being like, yeah, I feel great about that guy going into next year. And then Jacob Cowing couldn't crack the rotation with 7 injuries.
Yeah.
So, it wouldn't shock me if they make a bigger move at receiver than you might expect, given that a fully healthy receiving core of Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, like, hey, that's a pretty good top 4. But you don't know yet. You don't know what that's going to look like. So it wouldn't shock me at all if they go out and make some level of splash at receiver, if for no other reason than to insulate themselves from one thing going awry in their receiving core, and all of a sudden they're relying on undrafted rookies and Chris Conley.
I'm kind of expecting them to use like a mid-round pick on a receiver and then bring in like a mid-level free agent, like
Sterling Shepard.
Yeah, like somebody who's experienced, who fits, like if they could, the equivalent to like Robert Woods, right? Like somebody that, you could play if they had to. The crazy thing with Deebo is like, look at watch Deebo, go on YouTube or whatever and type in his 2024 highlights and then type in 2019 highlights. Deebo in 2019 looks like 30 pounds lighter than
it is insane.
What he was. Like he just looks like a completely different player just in the uniform.
Mm-hmm. Even in 2021.
Yeah, 2021 he obviously is a monster. But just like I think it's very fair to say, even just visually and like the production spoke for itself. Deebo Samuel had 800 yards from scrimmage last year, like, which isn't terrible, but like, we're talking about a guy who had nearly 1,800 yards from scrimmage in 2021, right? And like since then, he had 1,770 yards from scrimmage, and he had 864 in a year he called terrible. And then he had fewer than that this year and played in more games. He played in 13 games in 2022, his quote-unquote terrible year. And he was good in 2023. He had 12 touchdowns overall, but this last year, 806 yards from scrimmage in 15 games and 4 touchdowns. It's like, it's, like at some point, just even if he still can be a serviceable receiver, at some point you do the Bill Belichick thing or the Bill Walsh thing and just say, I'd rather get rid of a guy a year too early than a year too late. Sure. And to me, Deebo is kind of a prime example of that. And that's not to say that he couldn't go out and be awesome in 2025 with, the Cowboys or the Raiders or whoever, one of those teams feels like they would sign him. But like, yeah, if I'm the Niners and I'm moving on from Deebo and I know I'm doing that, and they've said they won't, they said they aren't planning on doing that. John Lynch at the end of the season press conference was asked specifically about Deebo, and he said he plans on Deebo being with the team, which is interesting in of itself. Mm-hmm. But for me, if I'm going after Cooper Kupp, it means that Deebo Samuel's probably gone. Or like I would be moving on from Deebo Samuel to replace him with Cooper
Kupp. Is that an upgrade? I think it's an upgrade.
Yeah, if you look at...
Kupp can get open.
Yeah, I mean, Cooper Kupp dominated the Super Bowl.
If you're getting the version of Deebo Samuel you got last year, it's an upgrade no matter what. If he was hurt last year and you're going to get something closer to even like 2023, I'm not 100% sure it's an upgrade at this stage of Kupp's career.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know that it's an upgrade, honestly. After that 149 catch season in 2021, Kupp's reception numbers, or touches, I should say, he had 149 touches, 145 catches in 2021. But last 3 years, 84 touches, 60 touches, 69 touches, 864 total yards, 734, 720. So
what are his combined numbers the last 3 years? Can you give those to me again?
Combined over the last 3 years, he has 2,300 yards in 3 seasons combined with 18 touchdowns. So it's not nothing, but it's like he went from, nearly 2,000 scrimmage yards and 16 touchdowns to way less than half of that the following 3 seasons in most categories. So, yeah, I mean, it's Kupp and Samuel. You probably could put them in the same bucket, honestly. Like, used to be really productive guys, but their best days are probably behind them.
I trust Cooper Kupp to be a wide receiver more than I trust Deebo Samuel to do that job. Sure. Like, you can put Cooper Kupp in the slot and pretty reliably get 6 yards with him.
I mean, the answer
and I don't
is
think
really,
I don't think you can do that with Deebo Samuel right now.
The answer is probably develop Ricky Pearsall into a starter level player, get Brandon Ayuk healthy, and use a 3rd round pick on a receiver, or bring in a middling free agent, or both, and do that. Because I would be very curious to see, just based on like name recognition, like, is Cooper Kupp going to get like a big contract? Like, I don't know.
I don't either, to be honest.
Probably not. And it's probably the same for Deebo. I don't know. They're in the same bucket. I don't know. I think it would be, I mean, stylistically, obviously very different players. Kupp is, will run every route, separator, et cetera, et cetera. Deebo is like sort of the gadget half hybrid running back player. I mean, it would signal a stylistic shift for sure. But honestly, I'm probably out of the, when you already have Brandon Ayuk coming off an injury and you have Juwan Jennings, I'm probably out of the aging receiver market, to be honest. Probably rather get younger.
That's fair. Cooper Kupp has 293 targets the last 3 years in 33 games. Deebo Samuel has 264 in 43 games. Jesus.
I will be, I think more so than any other player, interested to see like what kind of shape they show up in, if Deebo Samuel is still in fact on the team. Because like there's a possibility that like Deebo says, yeah, last year was awful and it was because I wasn't in good shape, and I'm just like, I'm going to come in at 195 pounds and like, my lifts will be 5% better across the board, and I'm just going to be a lean, mean wrecking ball this year. Like, I could see a scenario where that happens. I wouldn't bank on it happening every year for the rest of his career, but I could also see a scenario where Deebo kind of looks the same, and it's like, all right, well, he's not 2021 Deebo. That guy's, it's 2025 now, and it's probably time to move on.
Yeah. Anyway. That's tough, but it's kind of where it's at. Like, it's just the life cycle of a football team, man. So,
yeah, I mean, that's always been sort of the thing. Like, when you're talking about paying Deebo lots of money, it's like, well, he's more than any other receiver. He's probably going to age like a running back. And I think he kind of has.
And if you trade for Myles Garrett, your need at receiver becomes a lot different because your defense is going to be way better.
Yeah, you won't. If you trade for Myles Garrett, you'll just like, get me an offense that could score 24 points a game, and I'll probably be really good.
Yeah. Yep.
Instead of like, I need an offense that scores 30. It's a big difference when you're building a team when you have that much confidence in your defense. So anyway, that's all I got.
Me too. That's what I got for today. Happy to be back, pod, and happy to be back.
Wow.
Happy to be back talking football. Holy shit. That was crazy. Happy to be back talking some football. We'll have another pod later this week. Maybe we'll look ahead to the Super Bowl. And why I hope both teams lose take is an original. We'll talk about it next time on Candlestick Chronicles. YouTube.com/@Candlestick Chronicles Podcast, or just search Candlestick Chronicles on YouTube. We're right there, and we're available wherever you get your podcasts. Tell your friends. We'll be diving into free agency, the draft, Brock Purdy's contract stuff. Will they trade for Myles Garrett? Tons of 49er stuff coming up this offseason here on Candlestick Chronicles. Talk to you guys next time.
See ya.